Oh, all right. Greetings, everybody, and welcome to week number 14. That is right, week number 14. That is right, week number 14 of your 14 of your 9489 class, which is your cultural heritage class. As always, I'm your professor, Dr. Jace K. Austin. And what we are going to do this week is a very quick state of the course update. And then actually the rest of the check-in video is going to be very quick this week as well, in part because you had a very long check-in video last week. But also, just to be honest with you, I'm a little tired. I don't have too much to say. I do think that the food module kind of speaks for itself. And then also, yes, there's a lot coming out in the news that I could talk about related to this administration and how they're destroying cultural heritage and how they're doing a bunch of stuff that isn't going to serve our field well. But I've already talked about it in this class. I've talked about it, I think, twice in check-in videos in this class. I don't feel like being depressing tonight, okay? So, yeah, we'll avoid talking about the administration. We'll just stick to the subject matter at hand this week. So, first of all, state of the course update. I want you all to realize that you all are pretty much done. You are pretty much done. This is the next to the last week. It's a 15-week course. You're on week 14, so you have 2 discussion board prompts to do, and you have your final paper or final project to do, okay? And if you did get approved for a final project, but things are still in limbo, just keep in contact with me. We'll make sure things work out for your benefit and that sort of thing. I'm not trying to get anybody, so yeah, if something needs to be kind of worked out, we'll work it out. We'll get things figured out, okay? And yeah, your discussion board prompts, those are, you got one on food, and then you got one on forgotten heritage next week, and so forth and so on. I do, want to, and yeah, that's pretty much it for the state of the course update. I do hope that you all have looked at I do hope that you all have looked at the, vocational guidance with the interviews that your classmates did. Those were very, very good. Actually, you all did a great job with those, and there was a lot of good information for those of you who are thinking about trying to go into a cultural heritage career that might not be librarianship or archives or museum curation and that sort of thing. But even if you're going into one of those 3 things, there was a lot of good information for you in those interviews there as well. Okay. Yeah, outside of that, there isn't really too much that I really want to talk about. Let's go ahead and just talk briefly about food as cultural heritage. All right, so really here's all I want to say as far as it goes with food as cultural heritage. This will probably be like a 6 or 7 minute video. It's not going to be that long at all. You all hear me talk a lot about the beauty of cultural heritage, and I put a lot of thought into this. I put a lot of thought into my belief that cultural heritage can lead to, it won't realistically do so, but in theory, cultural heritage could lead to world peace. If people just understood that cultural heritage, this inheritance is something that is somehow ingrained in our human DNA, is somehow something that makes us all human. It's one of the things that makes us all human. When I talk about, well, for one thing, you probably remember in the video with me and Nitsnats talking to my buddy Bill, and Bill saying that music is the universal language. But there's so many things that are universal within cultural heritage. Yes, music is a universal language. All cultures produce some sort of music. Also, all cultures create some sort of food. There are a lot of other things within cultural heritage, like religion and things like that pretty much all cultures kind of get into as well. But food is another thing that pretty much any culture, you're going to have some sort of food related to it. But where I think that peace could come in, where I think that we could really get to an understanding that we as humans were more alike than we think, is I really love when the foods come together. So when you look at that, if you look at that black cake excerpt video that we've got for an optional discussion board prompt, one thing that the lady does talk about is she talks about the different foods coming together. She talks about specifically an ingredient that's made in Jamaican rum cake being something that actually originates in the Philippine Islands, the Pacific Islands, that sort of thing. So but she talks about, yeah, these things come together. And I think that's one of the beauties of it, because when you look at, especially, I could talk for a while about the cuisine that you will find on what they call the Grand Strand down in South Carolina. So Myrtle Beach, Charleston, Georgetown, down the coast of South Carolina, what you will find is that the food traditions there blend three particular cultures. They blend Western, well, these aren't actual cultures, but they blend what's the word I can use? Maybe megacultures or something like that. But what they do is they blend things. So the food patterns that you will have along the Grand Strand down in South Carolina, and the reason why I can speak on this is because I've read a book about this, and reviewed the book in case you all were wondering, like, what's it talking about that specifically? Yes, so down in South Carolina on the Grand Strand, on the coast, you will find that the foods there have German influence, English influence, Native American influence, and then West African influence. And all of it comes together to create some of the most amazing food you will find in the United States, in my opinion. I love first of all, because I've noticed that a lot of people who are not from the South, or actually even people who are from the South, take that back. I noticed that a lot of people who are not from South Carolina are worried about going to South Carolina. I lived in South Carolina for 7 years. And yeah, I was hesitant to move to South Carolina, because of growing up in North Carolina and in Virginia, all the terrible stuff we used to hear about South Carolina. But yeah, South Carolina is, first of all, the coast in South Carolina is beautiful. If you have not been to Charleston and Beaufort and Georgetown and Myrtle Beach, I recommend you do it. It is beautiful down there. It is absolutely beautiful. But the eyes are not the only sense that are, the only organ that has sensory that is in for a treat when you go to the South Carolina coast. Your taste buds are also going to be in for a treat. Your taste buds are going to be in for a treat. When you go to the South Carolina coast and you have that fresh, delicious seafood, and you have shrimp and grits. If you have never had shrimp and grits, having shrimp and grits for the first time, having South Carolina style barbecue, the mustard-based barbecue, you mostly find that actually inland in like Columbia and Greenville and places like that, but you can find a few places along the beach and along the coast that have that. The mustard barbecue base, it's got origins within German culture. But then they have some seasoning routines with it that trace their lineage back to England and also to West Africa. You will find like chicken bog. It's great. It's great. And that also has roots within Western European culture as well as African culture and things like that. So I say all that to say, sorry, this is going a little longer than I thought it was, but I say that to say that, man, blending of cultures and food, that is when you get like some of the best human experiences you could ever have. And I will close with this. I used those as a specific example, but there are so many food fusions out there now that people are getting into that are just awesome. And one food fusion that I actually really, really enjoyed recently was you can actually get like a chicken and waffles marsala from a place in Kansas City, and that is a blend of Indian food, not Native American food. I'm talking about like India food, as well as, and that is fused with a chicken and waffles culture that originates from the southern United States with black people. So you have this fusion between a chicken and waffles culture that comes from black people, black Americans, and then they fuse it with Indian chicken marsala traditions and that sort of thing. And again, that fusion was delicious. So yeah, I just hope we get to a place at some point in this world, in our species, at some point. I just hope we get to a place where we say, let's stop the fighting and let's come together. Let's blend our music so that our music is awesome. Let's blend our food so that our food is awesome. And, you know, whatever it takes to blend things for our vision and for our sense of smell and sense of touch, hey, let's do that as well. It should appeal to all the senses. But yeah, okay, that is something that I feel is worth mentioning. You know, I don't want to fight people who are different than me. I want to taste the food because I love it. I love the food. And now what I'm going to do, because I made some Yeah, I actually made myself some chicken for tonight, and it was a jerk chicken recipe. So that originates from the Caribbean and Jamaica, and I'm gonna go enjoy that now because I'm not Jamaican. But hey, food, just like music, is a universal language. All right, you all take care. I'll see you next week for the final chicken video.